Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 6. So every season of a television show, or as we commonly call them, TV show, but obviously in this case that being The Flash, you get those like ins and outs from the show in regards to certain cast members and characters from season to season or year to year. But usually those characters that we see, go away and leave come the end of a season are the exact same characters that were brought in for that season at the beginning, the majority of the time. Obviously you get characters introduced in later seasons that are planned to be there for more than just that first season that they are there, like Ralph Dibny or something. But most of the time those characters are a one season type character. They're there to fit the story, such as Julian Albert, for example. He fit the story for that season, but it would have been hard to make him, relevant going past that season, or at least consistently relevant, if that's a good term to use. But yeah, it is pretty rare that we see a character that's been around for multiple seasons, especially a foundation character that was there from the beginning of season 1, just get up and leave the show. And that appears to have happened in most people's eyes to one of the most beloved characters on the show, that of course being your boy, Cisco Ramon. But if we do look back at everything with Cisco on the show, jump on the old cosmic treadmill and just run everything back a bit. When you look at Cisco and his past on the show, the way in which he left, or potentially left, might I say, did come across as a bit random and just sort of nonsensical to a lot of people that watch the show. Since we met Cisco all the way back in season 1, you could argue even, season 2 of Arrow towards the end of that, he was like the superhero guru, if that's the good, name to give him. He knew everything and anything about them, to the point where he would, go on to name every villain of the week and even the big bads in some cases. And he just knew everything and all the different terminology and stuff to use when relevant. And then when he was given powers, sure, it was done in a bit of a weird way and probably undesirable way, but still, when he was given powers, it was almost a dream come true. Cisco is now a superhero, how cool would that be for him? But just the way in which he was set up to leave and how he eventually opted to leave and have his powers taken away, it wasn't a fan favorite moment from last season, I don't think. But before last season, or, season 5 even started, there were rumors, floating around that Carlos Valdez, who of course is the actor who plays Cisco Ramon on the show, was considering leaving the show. And the source for all of that back then, from what I know of at least, was that, before they really got into the season 5 stuff, Carlos Valdez, Daniel Panabaker, who plays Caitlin, and Tom Cavanagh, who plays all the different versions of Wells, were all up for renewals for their contracts. So Tom and Danielle re-signed theirs as soon as possible because they're on director things as well, or director contracts at that time. So they had to get theirs done early so they could get prepped for the director stuff. So they got all that done early, but Carlos didn't. And that rumor stuck around throughout the entire season and got to the point where heaps of people knew about this rumor. Usually rumors like this that float around are just for little niche parts of the fan base and stuff like that. But a lot of people knew about this, rumor about, Cisco potentially leaving the show, and it led to Carlos constantly being asked about it and him basically just having to deny it all the time, even though he did look fairly uncomfortable having to respond to all those questions about it. But in regards to what we actually saw go down in season 5 with Cisco, his storyline, and what eventually happened at the end of season 5, you sort of have to, rewind back towards the beginning of the season, where we started to see the effect that Cicada, the big bad, would have on not only Central City, the city he's attacking, but also our main characters. And that of course begun when we saw Cisco get cut or sliced by Cicada's dagger. That then resulted in him having issues with his powers, but this also allowed Cisco to just, go away, have some time away from everything by himself, or just outside of this realm from the whole superhero side of his life, which allowed him to just come to terms and just, the realization of where he wanted to be at with his life at this time, and also where he wanted to go with his life as well in the future. This, of course, was then to be heavily influenced by the new character, in brackets, forced character of Camilla. But with Cicada being in the picture for the season and Team Flash basically needing some form of solution to either stop him or her, or to just save some potential victims of Cicada, the metahuman cure was created, which then gave Cisco a complete exit solution or strategy from the superhero side of his life. And we of course saw him take it with the help of Caitlin at the end of the season 5 finale. But since that exact moment, people have been like very confused as to whether Cisco is gone. Like, is he not coming back, or will he come back, but just without his powers? So yeah, what's going on with Cisco? Are we going to see him in season 6 of The Flash? Now, the biggest issue around this is that it wasn't made clear at all. Like, I wouldn't even say like remotely clear at the end of the season whether Cisco had actually completely left the show or not. Like, it wasn't done like well at all. And it isn't that great or that much of any help that we haven't had any type of media release or just something from the people on the show in regards to whether he has left or will just have a different role next season or just a smaller role, something like that. Obviously, there was a change in the showrunner for next season, going from season 5 to season 6, so that might have something to do with it, but it is hard to be 100% sure what is actually going on with that whole side of things. But based off what we saw on the show and some other little things that have happened outside of the show, we can make some decent guesses and assumptions as to what is exactly going on with the status of our old mate Cisco Ramon on the show. Now, the first thing of note to bring up, which sort of says that, yeah, Cisco's probably gone, is that we have said our farewells, or at least the show was like sort of hinting at that. Now, the first thing of note to bring up, which sort of says that like, yeah, Cisco, Cisco's gone, we have said our farewells, or at least the show was sort of hinting at that, was that whole like last part of season 5 with Cisco and Caitlin. That like entire thing just felt like a goodbye between those two characters. Obviously, it was a bit weird that there wasn't anything like that in a major capacity with Barry. Throughout this season, there were conversations where Cisco's future was brought up between them and where he wanted to be, but nothing in the finale where it was like that final goodbye, not going to see you anymore, or at least not going to see you consistently. So the absence of that scene with Cisco and Barry could be an argument that maybe he isn't gone, but that whole thing with Caitlin, whether it be, the giving of the cure, or even the part right at the end where Caitlin, as well as Killer Frost, I guess, get to see Cisco's gift to them, which of course is a new suit for her next season. Even the way Cisco walked out of Star Labs in that final part with himself and Camilla walking down the streets of Central City, just felt like the end. It just felt like, okay, that's it. But when you look at the reasons, as to how he could be staying, there are some things that sort of back it up. Sort of, I guess. The first one is something I said earlier, but it sort of needs to be said again, and that is that they haven't said he is leaving. And it wasn't made clear in the finale episode for season 5. It sort of needs to be made clear, especially with an OG character like Cisco, someone that's been there since the beginning. Also, Camilla, Cisco's girlfriend, she works with Iris, photographer, so you would think she would show up again next season, which would also involve Cisco every now and then in some way, you would think. Unless they decide to make Camilla a sort of like Tracy Brand type character. And by that, I mean, it's a character where they, send and receive things and they interact with the team or our main characters. But we actually don't like see them do that. We just hear about it all. That's like a Tracy Brand type character. If you go back since like the end of season 3, like in season 4 and 5, Tracy Brand is always referenced as if like they've gone and met her, but we never actually get to see Tracy Brand. Now, if they did that, that'd be pretty annoying, but it wouldn't be surprising. Like, really, when you think about it, Cisco offered much more to Star Labs than just his powers. Like, I think he offered more outside of his powers than his actual powers did. He was there before he was a superhero. He was their engineer. He created all their tech for the most part. He created the Flash suits outside of the season 5 one, I guess, which might be a good thing on his record because not many people like the season 5 suit. He can still do that. Like, if anything, he could excel and do a better job as he now wouldn't have to focus on that other side of his life. And if anything, they could have just got rid of his powers because of Crisis next season and the possibility of there not being a multiverse anymore, which is like a major part of some of like the gimmicks of Cisco's powers. And also, at San Diego Comic-Con this year, which is in like less than a month now, I think, there's actually an exclusive Funko Pop there of Cisco Ramon. And it's pretty rare that they'll, like, when a show that's still going, that they'll bring out, like, a past character like this. Like, they might bring out a past villain. Like, Zoom was a pop, like, after the show, but that's because, that he was only there for a season. So, maybe that hints that he's still on the show. A lot of people were asking that. I wouldn't say there's any sort of confirmation, but I thought I'd just mention it because maybe that's a sign. But let's just say Cisco isn't a regular next season. How do we see him again, or could we see him again? And I think the two possibilities are like some sort of special episode where he just comes in for like a 1, 2, 3 episode arc in the middle or towards the end of the season or something like that. That's a possibility. Once again, he wouldn't have his powers, so it'd be more just like a a brain or intelligence sort of like help that the team needs. And the other option is Crisis. Like if they need his help during Crisis, or it could be another multiverse version of Cisco with those vibe type of powers, or maybe some other type of powers. That's another possibility. I'd expect, if anything, I would expect him in Crisis. I'd actually almost be surprised if he's not in Crisis, but anything outside of that Crisis crossover, it's hard to predict like where he would be if he's not going to be a regular next season. So if you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments. But yeah, this whole like debacle around this whole thing around like Cisco has just been super confusing. Even like throughout all of season 5, like whether he was staying or going, and then he eventually looks like he's going, but we're not too sure if he's going now. It's really confusing. I wish they just tell people so people don't like get their hopes up and stuff like that. Maybe it's meant to be some sort of surprise. I have no idea. It's super confusing. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, it would be awesome if you could drop a like and it shows support. Let me know in the comments section down below your various opinions. Do you think Cisco's going? Do you think he's staying? If he's staying, do you think he's going to be like in the same role he was last season? Or do you think it's going to be in a smaller role? Let me know all of your thoughts down there in the comments. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.